All right, here we are, the final part of our deep dive into the book of Revelation. And wow, are we going out with a bang? We're about to explore a theory that takes everything we thought we knew about this book and completely flips it on its head. You know, for almost 2,000 years, everyone's been looking at Revelation like it's this locked box holding the secrets to the future. But what if we've been trying the wrong key this whole time? What if the key isn't something that's going to happen, but something that's already happened? Okay, so here's the radical idea at the heart of all this. The theory goes that Revelation, it's not a prophecy of the future at all. Nope. Instead, it's actually a super complex, highly symbolic retelling, an allegory, if you will, of the Gospel's Easter story. So, Easter story allegory, what does that even mean? Well, it means that every weird beast, every plague, every cataclysmic event you read about in Revelation isn't about the end of the world. It's actually a coded symbol for something that happened during Jesus' passion, his death, and his resurrection in Jerusalem. Right, so your first question is probably, how on earth does that work? I mean, how do you take a book filled with judgment and destruction and turn it into the story of the cross? Well, the theory says there's one single, really powerful key to unlock it all. And that key is this idea called atoning substitution. Now, stick with me here. The core Christian belief, right, is that on the cross, Jesus took on the sins of the world. So, for a moment, he became sin. The theory says if you take that idea, you can literally substitute this sin-bearing Christ in place of Revelation's symbols of evil, like Babylon or the beast. And when you do that, a totally different story just snaps into focus. And this is what the source calls its smoking gun. Because when you apply this substitution method to chapters 16 through 20, you suddenly get this perfect four-part story that lines up exactly with the Easter narrative: the passion, the death, the burial, and finally the resurrection. The parallels are so detailed, so spot on, that the theory argues there's just no way it's a coincidence. And let me tell you, the source is really confident about this. It's not saying, oh, this is a fun little parallel. It's arguing that the massive number of connections, the sheer detail of it all, it has to be intentional. It's proof of a deliberate design by the author of Revelation. Okay, but that just leads to another huge question, right? Why? Why go to all this trouble? Why write the Easter story in this incredibly complicated, hidden, allegorical way? Well, the theory says the author had a very, very good reason, a dangerous idea that was spreading like wildfire in the early church. And that threat was something called Docetism. Now, Docetists believed that Jesus wasn't really human. He was a spirit who just looked like a man. And if that's true, well, it means his suffering wasn't real. His death wasn't real. The whole thing was just an illusion. And for the early Christians, that idea was a direct attack on the very foundation of their faith. So, you see where this is going? The theory argues that Revelation was a counterattack, a defense. How do you fight an idea that says Jesus wasn't physical? You write a story that is obsessed with the physical. You encode these intensely physical moments, the touch of the anointing oil, the real wounds from the scourging, the piercing of his side, even the physical handling of his dead body. It's almost ironic, right? Using the illusion of an apocalypse to prove the reality of Jesus' suffering. And that just reframes the whole book. If this is right, Revelation isn't about telling the future. It's what's called an anti-docetic polemic. It's a fiery, passionate argument written to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Jesus Christ truly came and suffered in the flesh. So if we accept this, even for a moment, what does that do to all those famous, terrifying symbols we all know? Well, everything changes. The whole meaning of the book gets turned upside down. Just look at the difference here. The beast? It's not some future Antichrist. It's the alliance of Jewish and Roman authorities who crucified Jesus. The Battle of Armageddon? Not a final world war, but a poetic description of the angel at the tomb overcoming the Roman guards. And the millennium, that 1,000-year reign? According to this, it's not 1,000 years at all, but symbolic language for short periods of time during that final week. I mean, talk about a radical shift. Now, to its credit, the source is really honest about the pros and cons here. On the one hand, it claims this theory makes Revelation super relevant because it's all about the gospel, and it says it explains all the weird parts of the book. But, and this is a big but, it admits it's a new idea. It's not widely accepted. And maybe the biggest hurdle? There is zero support for this in the writings of the early church fathers. So that's the elephant in the room, isn't it? If this is true, why didn't anybody see it for 2,000 years? The theory has an answer for that. And the answer is, the author did too good of a job. The disguise, the illusion of it being a future prophecy was so perfect that everybody fell for it, and the real message just stayed hidden in plain sight. And this really brings us to the heart of the matter. This theory forces us to ask, what is the real revelation in the book of Revelation? Is it a prophecy about what's to come, or a polemic about what's already been? This chart really says it all. The traditional view puts almost all the emphasis on future prophecy. This Easter story view, it flips the script entirely, shifting all that focus to defending a key moment in history. And this really gets to the core of the whole argument. It changes the very definition of prophecy. So when the book says that the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, this theory says that's not talking about predicting the future. It's talking about the gospel, the testimony of what Jesus actually did in the past. So that's where we have to leave it. After everything we've looked at, the final question is still this. Is the book of Revelation a roadmap to our future? Or is it something completely different? An incredibly intricate defense of history's most pivotal event? Whichever way you lean, the answer, well, it changes absolutely everything.